Hello, it's Mrs. Green, and this lesson is on simple interest, and we call it simple interest because there's another kind of interest called compound interest, which we'll cover in the next lesson. So it's not simple interest because it's not smart or it's not difficult, but it is simpler than compound interest. It's a different calculation, and it's a common term in money and finance. And so we've got a few different terms to define. We've got interest, principal, rate, and time. So my little graphic here, which is very handy, all the terms that we need to define are sitting here. And interest happens when you either borrow money. So we're going to be talking about borrowing. So if you borrow money from a person or a bank, there are other people who will lend you money, but this is typically, maybe if you're a young person, you might borrow money from your parents if they have extra money laying around. Or if you're a little older, you might borrow money from a bank to buy something that you can't pay for the whole thing yourself, like a house or maybe a car. So somebody's willing to lend you the money and you have to pay them back over time. And the extra that they get because you have been using their money is called interest. The other side of that is if you invest. So we have borrowing. If you have some extra money laying around, so this is money that you don't have that you need to buy something usually, and you borrow the money. The other side of the coin is if you have extra money laying around and you want your money to make money, you can make an investment. So you can put your money in the bank. You can also invest in other things, but we'll probably just talk about bank accounts with this topic. It's a little more familiar to 7th graders usually. So you might invest your money, and then you'll get paid interest because what you're doing is you're letting somebody use your money. So the cost to them, and you get the money, a little bit more money back. The cost to them of using your money is called interest. So it's a two-sided transaction. So on the next page, we'll do the key information. So I want to define these different terms. So interest is going to be, okay, so the four items here that we want to define are interest itself. So that's the amount of money earned or paid for the use of money. So it's kind of confusing because money's in there twice. But when you're borrowing or investing money, you're either earning interest or you're paying interest. And that's the little piece that you're going to get, the little extra. So it's the extra money, the extra amount of money that's earned or paid for the use of a principal amount of money. So the principal, that's the next thing. Principal is the amount of money that's being borrowed or invested. So it's the big amount usually. It's the dollars that you either borrowed from somebody or that you put in the bank, deposited or invested. And then the little money, the interest, is the smaller amount of money, the extra, that you're going to earn or pay on top of the principal. And the way we calculate that is we use what's called an interest rate. And that's a percent of the principal. So we're going to use the principal to do a calculation. And we're going to use percent. And the percent that we use is called the interest rate. And then there's time involved. So time, usually in years. So you'll have your money, you'll borrow from somebody for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. And then, or you put money in the bank for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. And simple interest is the calculation of interest in 1 year at a time. So we'll do 1 year at a time. If you have more than 1 year, then you would just add those years up. You'd add all the simple interest up. Or you could multiply by, in my case here, I've got 5 years. You could multiply by 5 or add them all up. Okay, so let's look at an example. Actually, I lied. We're going to do a formula. And this is the simple interest formula. So it looks like this, the simple interest formula. I, and that stands for interest. So if we go back to our IPRT, we're going to use these letters in our formula. and I stands for interest. So if you forget, you can come back to this page. I equals, so you're trying to calculate interest, so we're starting with I. P for principal. If we go back to P, here's the principal. And you're going to multiply, so I'm not going to put an operation in between. I'm just going to put the letters right next to each other. That indicates multiplication. R is the rate. And T is the number of years, or the time. So I equals PRT, where I is interest. You should already have that written in your notes. I just happen to have it on a different page, so I'm writing it all so it's on one page. P is principal. Principal.
Are you talking to my baby?
No, I'm recording. R is rate, and T is time. All right, another concept having to do with interest is what's known as the balance. So write this definition in your key information. And it works like this. When an account earns interest, so we calculate interest using this formula, and we're earning interest, so we borrowed money, we either borrowed or we invested money. We calculated interest using this formula. And then we add that money to an account. So this mostly happens when you have an investment or deposit. It doesn't happen as much with borrowing. But if you have a bank account and a year later you earn some interest, they will add that interest to your principal or the amount that you invested or deposited, and that becomes your new balance. So you're going to take your original amount, add your interest, and that will be your new balance. You have to read the problem. Sometimes they want just the interest. Sometimes they want you to calculate the balance. So you might have to take your original amount and add the interest. Okay, here are some example problems. Okay, example 1. You deposit $500 in a savings account that pays simple interest of 2.5% per year. How much interest will you earn after 18 months? So I'm going to recall my formula. I equals PRT. And let's label our items here. Principal is the amount you invest, or here's you deposited principal of $500, so that's my P. My rate is the 2.5%, so that's my R. And my time is 18 months. We have to be very careful with this because time is in years. We always express time in years when we're talking about interest. And did they express the time in years? No, they expressed it in months. So I have to convert that. I have to put it into years. So 18 months, I know there are 12 months in a year. So that would be 1.5 years or 1.5 years. So my T, I need to convert that before I use it. And that's probably the trickiest thing about this problem. People will definitely make that mistake, and you'll have way too big of a number. Okay, so we're going to fill in these letters. So I, which is what I'm trying to calculate, equals principal of 500 multiplied by my rate, which is, again, something I have to convert. It's 2.5%. I cannot multiply by a percent. You guys know this from the last couple of lessons. I have to convert my percent to a decimal or a fraction. I prefer a decimal. I'm going to take away my percent symbol, move my decimal 2 places to the left. So 0.025. And I've already calculated my time to be 1.5 years. So I'm multiplying 3 numbers together. These 3 numbers. So it's multiplication with a couple of decimals, which we've been practicing. Not too bad once you get it all set up. If I multiply those 3 together, if you want to use a calculator, this would be a good time to do so. You're going to get $18.75. So that's the amount of interest earned. They did not ask me what my balance would be. If they had asked me what my balance would be, I would have to take my $500 and add my $18.75 and get $518.75 after a year and a half. All right, but they didn't ask me what my balance was, but I wanted to show you. So this is the complete answer, $18.75. So just be careful, go back and read the problem to make sure. Example 2. Example 2, you deposit $900 into a savings account that pays 3% interest. Find your account balance after 9 months. So this is an example of one where they do want your account balance. So again, I'm going to use my I equals PRT, and I'm going to label. My principal is 900, that's my P. My rate is 3%, that's my R. And my T is 9 months. Again, that needs to be in years. So over here, I'm going to change my time into years. And so 9 over 12, 9 months over 12 months is going to be my fraction of a year. I can reduce that by dividing 3 over 3. So that's going to give me 3/4 of a year. So I need to rewrite my time in years. Pay attention to that first. And then I'm going to rewrite my rate, which is 3%, as a decimal. So I'm going to take away my percent symbol and move my decimal 2 places to the left. So I'm going to get 0.03 for my rate. Come over here, fill in my formula. I equals principal was 900, rate 0.03, time 3/4. I don't want to use the fraction. I could, but since I already have a decimal in my problem, I'm going to convert that. And I know that 3/4, if I multiply by 25 over 25, I can get it to be a percent. I mean a decimal. 75 100ths. So 0.75. All right, and then when I multiply those together, you will get $20.25 when you multiply all those together. So then to get my balance is going to be my principal of 900 plus my interest, which I just calculated, of $20.25. Nice round numbers. $920.25 is now what I have after 9 months sitting in my account. Dollars. All right, 2 practice problems. They both want you to calculate the interest, and we're given principal of $520, a rate of 2%, and time is 3 years. And the second one, principal of $500, rate of 1.8%, and time of 2 years. Once you're done, please do your wrap-up summary. And that's it for me, signing off.